Please tell us who.
They literally have armies.
Yeah.
Armies of people that they will send after certain candidates or send after certain people. It's all about the optics and controlling the narrative. That's like a huge thing is you want to control your narrative online. And the way you do that is by comments, by what people are saying, likes, reposts, all of that stuff. Because it could be either super negative narrative or super positive or a mixture. It drives me crazy. Generalizations are ruining our country. And honestly, you want to take it further and say our world, because people would be like, you are a conservative, you automatically like Trump, or you automatically are, let's say, they use the word racist. I obviously completely disagree with that. Or let's say that you are on the Republican side. If you don't like Trump, you're automatically a rhino, which is dividing the Republican Party. So what I'll say with all these people, careers, I think they can be really great. If you love to work and you can do that. Specifically as a woman, it's pretty fun, but I don't think it should ever stop you from wanting to be a wife or a mother.
A little bit about who you are and your background, maybe what you do for a career and work on, and tell us a little about that.
Yeah, so it's kind of been kind of everywhere, but I
Yeah.
grew up in Phoenix, Scottsdale, Arizona area. And just even from a very, very young age, I was super involved in the political world. And so I went from working on different campaigns, door knocking, phone calls, going to little parades with my dad at the time, and I'll go more into that with who my dad was at that time growing up. But just grew up in the political world, and then right as I graduated high school, actually, I moved out to Washington D.C. and I lived there and I worked at the U.S. Capitol for a member of Congress, and then I stayed in D.C. for a while actually, and then I went out to Arizona and back to Arizona and worked for a gubernatorial campaign and helped with social media. And then I moved out to Utah to serve a mission for church. So it's just a quick little explanation. And then I came home, got married, and now I actually live in Florida in the Orlando area, and I love it. And I'm still working in politics and doing lots of that, but in a different capacity when it comes to the social media scene, because that's such an
Mhm.
important key element now, which is crazy. But that's me. And then a little, I'm so sorry, I'm blabbing so much.
No, you're
Cut that.
good. You're totally good.
But I'm doing that, and then I also have my little baby. I have a little 8 month old, and he is so perfect. I love him.
Oh, that's awesome. No, no worries. You can talk as much as you want. That's why we had you on. Um, so tell me a little bit more because you said your dad was involved in politics. That's how you kind of got involved in politics. But then, so tell me a little bit about that because what
Yeah,
I don't think a lot of people have the opportunity to be closely tied to politics. They may hear about it from a family member or their parents might have strong opinions, but they're not necessarily in the political scene, especially at a young age.
yeah, that's a really good question. So it's funny because I'm very unlike my siblings in this way. So my dad, he's the former chairman of the Arizona Republican Party, and
Okay, cool.
it was a couple years before President Trump was elected. I feel like that's where a lot of people jumped on the political train. So that's a good way for people to kind of think about that. But he was chairman for about 4 years, and I believe he started when I was about 9 or 10.
Mm.
He had run for governor before that, but had dropped out to support somebody else running. And I absolutely loved going with my dad to events. And when you're going with your dad to these events, when he's super politically involved, you're going to be constantly learning and meeting people, and it becomes not only their community, but yours. And
Mm.
people love when a young person is engaged in politics. And so I would go to all these campaign events. I'd go to all these speaking events, LD meetings. I'd go to state conventions. I loved it. And then another quick little thing that kind of got my name out there from a young age as well. My elementary school, I went to Benchmark Elementary School. It's a great school. They had us learn the preamble of the Constitution. Um, at the beginning of the Declaration of Independence. They had us learn all these um, very important documentation, or at least the beginning or the kind of the roots of it. And
Hmm.
we would recite it and memorize it. And my dad would bring me to these events as like a 9-year-old girl and would have me speak and say the
Mm.
preamble of the Constitution. So I learned public speaking, and then people got to know me and they started giving me money for my dad's campaign. So my dad brought
Wow.
me everywhere.
Wow. Okay, that's awesome. So it was a little bit of a opportunity for you to public speak, but also a good people obviously kind of were drawn to the fact that you were young and getting involved and you said you were 13-ish around the time or like early
Yeah,
teens, is that?
so that was even a little bit later. I run 9 or 10, 9 to 11 is kind of when I was started just kind of traveling with my dad.
Oh
I
wow.
sometimes my mom would be like, don't say this, but sometimes I'd leave school early to go across the state with my dad, and then I'd go speak at an event. And then it got to the point where when my dad was running for chairman, state chairman, he was state party chairman, he'd hand me a little basket and he'd have these little candies to hand out with like his name saying vote for me to these precinct committeemen. And
Yeah.
I would go and I'd hand them it to them, and I started coming back with the basket filled with dollar bills or with
Okay.
money. And my dad literally was like, you're coming with me everywhere and campaigning, and people just wanted to donate. And he's like, I was like, can I take the money? Could like give it to you? And because we didn't know if it was not allowed or it was. But it worked out, and it was pretty cool for a girl my age to experience so young. Yeah.
Okay. So you really kind of became the ultimate campaign weapon out there for him, just kind of making moves, talking to everybody. That's really cool. I think a lot of people don't. Like I said, I don't think they get that type of exposure, but they definitely don't get to learn public speaking that early or
It
coordinating with
was,
adults.
it was so great because it taught me how to talk to adults. It taught me how to make conversation, talk to people I didn't know. Like, actually, this is a little side note. So I have 5 siblings,
Yeah.
and you can imagine as young kids, and I'm the middle child, so I had a couple older brothers and then some younger siblings, and we'd go to all these political events, especially when my dad was elected. And
Mhm.
at these events, you could imagine with being so young, we don't understand everything that's going on. So we, at times, were bored out of our minds. I was probably the most not bored, but
Yeah.
my siblings, we would be so bored. And so my dad, he would say to us, he'd say, I need each of you to go find 3 people, or find 3 people you don't know, learn 3 things about them, and then come back and tell me. He's like, shake their hand, firm handshake, look them in the eyes, and tell me their name. Like he would just make sure that we learned how to do that, learned how to talk to people, and then came back, and it kept us busy and taught us lots of skills that we are so thankful for. I like want to do that with my kids, like at church and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think it's super valuable. I think when parents involve their kids in whatever they're doing, it just seems to, I mean, it just gives them real world opportunities that a lot of their friends, if they're just getting sent to school or preschool or something like that, they're not necessarily getting that same exposure.
And it
Um,
teaches maturity. Like that's something
mm,
I always felt a little bit different from my peers in a way where I was like, I just thought things were kind of silly in the moment. Or I was like, you don't talk to an adult like that. Or
yeah,
I could talk to anyone when my peers couldn't. They'd like freak out or give a presentation and be freaking out. And I'm like, wait, I love this. Like, this is what I was just doing with my dad, like growing up. So it really gave me those skills, those real world skills that I feel like a lot of people are trying to still accumulate as they're in their early 20s, I would say. Yeah.
yeah, no, that's true. I mean, it's like because I think so many kids they're scared. They're more scared of the idea of doing it, and so it becomes kind of uncool or stupid, or they don't want to participate. But it's not because they don't actually want to do it. It's just because they're scared of doing it.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think being exposed to that, and I mean, you're going to get a little exposure in the normal settings, but your parents taking that initiative. It's funny when parents just I think want to ship kids off to school or like kind of not have to associate, throw, not that they don't love their kids. I think most parents do, but they're like, okay, go do your thing, and I'll
Yeah.
see you later. But when they involve them, I think it's pretty neat, a little more
I
impactful.
agree. It makes me really sad when I see kids just at like meetings or even out at restaurants and they're just glued to an iPad. It's like
Yeah.
if you're not learning eye contact, you're not learning how to maybe if you yes, have like a 3-year-old or a 4-year-old talk to them, have them try to talk to the waiter and say, "I want French fries." I don't know, just
Yeah.
try to have your kids learn and be aware of what's around them because if they're not, you're setting them up for a really, I feel like rough go. They're not going to be as confident.
Right.
They're not going to be as comfortable talking to people. They're not going to, like, you were just telling me that your wife is doing some interviews, and I bet
Hmm.
she's going to do a fantastic job. And these type of skills help with things like that. So there's lots of different things that I think kids are lacking because they don't have those real life experiences or they are just shipped off and
Right.
going to
Right.
school or on their iPad. It's one of the two, it seems like.
Hmm. Yeah. No. Yeah. Yeah, it's that development that I think people, yeah, I think parents just get involved in their own lives and they don't want to necessarily involve their kids, but they're, uh, I mean, you're kind of missing out on opportunities for those kids to learn. What do you think about talking about iPads and online? Because you do a lot now in the social media sphere with
Yes.
campaigns, and I'll get back to the when you were in Washington. I'd be curious to hear what you did a little bit there versus you said you're doing more social media versus whatever you were doing then.
Yeah.
But what I feel like social media and the online forum has taken such a huge step in politics. I don't know if you've seen this as well, but 10, 15 years ago, it was there, but it wasn't nearly as active, right? And
Yeah.
now every campaign it seems like is that's a major component. You got Spencer Pratt who like blew up overnight on social media. He did have a following, but he really kind of popped out of nowhere. And same with who's that guy in New York? I think he's mayor now. Um,
Oh,
Mamdani, I think
yeah.
Mamdani's his name.
It's
Yes,
a difficulty to say, so I don't want to say it wrong. So I'll
yeah.
let you.
I
But I
think
know
it's Zoran Mamdani.
yes, Zoran.
Yes, yeah,
AOC's been hyping him up.
yes, yes. So I'm curious, you being actively in it, what have you seen shift and how does that play a role now?
Yeah, that's a really great question. So, especially because I feel like I've been in the political scene again ever since I was younger and little.
Yeah.
I would say it's hard to even know where to start. That is such a key element in politics now. That's why I'm trying to jump on that bandwagon because I want to be able to participate and actively be engaged in civics in our
Yeah.
country. And then right now I'm working a lot out of the state of Arizona, but I want to be able to help strengthen our country in whatever way I can. But the reason that social media is so important in the political scene, it's straight from sources. So if you think of
Mm,
like a candidate, I want to learn more about let's say President Trump or President Biden or kids nowadays or not even kids, young adults nowadays, they go straight to their social media and say what are they posting? Where are
yeah.
they? What are they up to? Or they're going to look up videos or they hear about something going on. That's straight from their source. It's straight from the person that they're potentially voting for. So rather than like having to read a bunch of articles, which is sad that people don't do that as much nowadays, rather than reading articles, we're having to sit by the TV and wait for a news story to pop up about them or even watch the news. They're seeing all these clips or they're going straight to the source. So it's so important to have your brand as a candidate because if somebody goes and they can't find anything about who you are, you're not telling them why they should vote for you or things
Right.
like that. And then there's that extra added element of you have to be trendy. People can comment and you can see what everyone is thinking. And there's a lot of opposition and strategy when it comes to politics now with paying people to comment or attack or repost,
Mm,
getting influencers involved. It's such a different ballpark. It's changed the political scene forever, which is kind of sad for me to see because it's so different, but also it's kind of fun to be able to learn about it and grow as we go.
yeah. Tell me a little bit more about that because I hadn't thought about the influencer side of it. People actually paying people to promote and support candidates. How does that affect the landscape? Because you would think, I don't know, is that dishonest? Is that causing problems? What's your thoughts on that?
So when you think about it, when somebody's working on a campaign, let's say they're door knocking, or let's say that they are having a news story or creating, let's say, a campaign ad, they're going to
Yeah.
pay people. They're going to pay people to hand a grocery bag to, or they're going to set things up and have scenes. It's hard to be able to differentiate what's real and what's staged for sure.
Mm.
It could really show who the person is, but it's still staged. But when it comes to those influencers, lots of them are getting paid for
Yeah.
sure, or it gives them attention, and it's kind of lots of influencers good deed, I would say. They feel like by being involved, but I've seen where it's very inflated with comments. So I
Mm.
won't say in particular a couple of people and organizations that I have heard of doing
Oh,
this.
please tell us who.
They literally have
Yeah.
armies of people that they will send after certain candidates or
Mm.
send after certain people, or simply it's to make themselves look good. So
Right.
they'll have their people. Let's say it's just their team even. They're like, we need you to go just hype us up or do this. It's all about the optics and controlling the narrative. That's
Mm.
like the huge thing is you want to control your narrative online. And the way you do that is by comments, by what people are saying, likes, reposts, all of that stuff. Because it could be either super negative narrative or super positive or a mixture. So very neutral. So it really it goes in waves. It's a crazy scene to look at and
But
be
what
in.
what are the benefits to them like hyping up their numbers or their comments or because I obviously people see that, but is it purely just because they want people who will be voting to think they're winning? Is it to scare off competition? Is it a bit of what's the reasoning behind that?
So I'll ask you this. When you are, let's say you're just scrolling, when
Yeah,
people say doom scrolling, and you come across a video that you're like, oh, I wonder what people are saying, like thinking about this. Do you ever just click the comments and see what people are saying?
sure. Yeah, yeah.
That if you are looking, let's say you're looking on Amazon and you want to buy a product, like maybe it's a hair product or a podcast microphone, maybe you need a new one, and you're looking through and trying to see are you gonna read the reviews before you buy it?
Right. Yeah.
Click it and see what people think. It's kind of like that, where people, it's again that brand and seeing what people think about the brand. I could be disagreeing with the video, and then I look and I'm like, oh, a bunch of people are disagreeing. I'm right.
Yeah.
Or, oh, I'm on the wrong side of TikTok because these people are completely on the opposite uh, opinion than me. And so it really, I would say either you see what majority of people are saying and you're like, wait, I never thought of it like that. Or, oh, that candidate is actually a lot better than I thought. Or actually, wait, this person is, I go to their profile and they're super conservative. And then I'm like, wait, is this candidate conservative? I'm going in a long tangent, but there's so many different things that um, you can really buy into a candidate. Or
Right.
you can see bad reviews and be like, oh, I'm not voting for them if they did that. I think
Mm,
that negativity definitely outweighs the positivity right now in the social media scene for politics, which is sad to me, but
totally.
it's the game.
Do you think a lot of those comments and do you think that's bots or do you think that's real organic people being involved or is it maybe a mix? I don't know.
Yeah, I would say it's a mixture. I think they're real people that could be bot like, if that makes
Mm,
sense, where they have one goal, one mission, and it's to take down a certain person or to make them look bad. But they're real people, but they're acting like bots. They're not doing it because they want to. It's because they're serving a purpose. I think you see that a lot. Lots of platforms are really good at detecting bots.
mm,
Nowadays, if they're bot like, or if they've bot like behavior, if they are a real person, they can see if you are commenting one thing on someone's page. There was a client that I had working on her campaign, and there was this one person, this one account that would constantly post a caption or a comment on every single one of her posts, and it's like the same thing. Where it got to
yeah.
the point where X started marking their comment as potential spam, or
Mm,
started marking it as a hidden comment, like wouldn't even appear to comment because it was so bot-like. And
Yeah.
so it's interesting to see how it's kind of changed because it used to be like you could just buy followers or buy this, but now it's a lot harder to do that, and you can actually get shut down if you do that, especially if you're more politically well known, I would say. You can totally
Right.
shut down. So you have to be really careful. It's a lot of people have to figure out a different way to do it without seeming like that, if that makes sense.
Gotcha. Okay. So I see. So someone's probably just getting paid and they're just copying, pasting, and just sending it over and over
Uh,
again, or something in that type of case. But and I guess X is a lot better now too, right? Since they've started to clean it up versus probably 5 years ago, it was pretty bad, as from what I've heard as far
you
as
know what?
spam and
That reminds me of too, you talking about how when, like honestly, let's say before it was X, Twitter, now
yeah.
X, it's interchangeable. Yes, like a tweet needs to be on X, in my opinion. But with that, another huge issue was what's it called? I'm gonna have to think about this. You have to. Oh my gosh, I'm blanking right now. Not shadow banning, but yes, shadow banning.
Oh,
So
is it
you
just
know
like
what?
blocking their account basically, or
Yeah, what's it called? There's like a word for it. You're gonna have to skip.
you're good, you're good.
Let
Um,
I don't remember.
is it not shadow banning? I feel like that sounds right.
Maybe. I guess that's more okay. So a lot, I would say, a lot of content is or people are shadow banned,
Hmm.
and um, a lot of oh my gosh, I can't think of this word. What's I'm gonna look this up because it's gonna drive me crazy, and it should be on the tip of my tongue.
No, you're
Uh,
good. Look it up. I'm curious as well.
filter through. What is it? What's yeah.
While you look that up, though, I know a lot of people mention having like a large following on their platform on X, or formerly Twitter, and they would post something, and it was like it would reach half the following, or reach like a small percentage of who it really was. And when I think it was when Elon bought Twitter, or X in this case, that started to kind of open up quite a bit, and people were pretty shocked by that. But yeah, I think is that kind of what you're referencing?
Yes, that's exactly what I'm referencing. There's like a specific word, and I bet people are gonna be like, "Oh my gosh, that's the word," and then I'm gonna be like, "Oh." Well.
They'll put it
But
in the comments, which that'll be
yeah,
good.
exactly. But with shadow banning and just honestly, I would say this is the word I'm looking for, but it's not the word. But
Yeah.
like bias filtering. I
Mm,
don't know why I
yeah.
can't think through this, but there was a lot of times where there was such a narrative online where I personally saw it was lots of conservative mainstream would totally get either sensitive content warning or it would have
Yeah.
like a disclaimer underneath it, or they would. I had a couple posts that were harmless, like on TikTok, super simple, and it was like this violated our community guidelines. So
Yeah.
lots of things like that kept happening over and over, and that's one of the reasons, like you said, that Elon bought Twitter and turned it into X. It was because of that, and like President Trump got banned off of Twitter, and then Elon had to bring him back. Like how crazy
Yeah.
is the former president of the United States? Like that is so crazy. So that's what I mean. I cannot. I'm gonna think of this word later, and it's gonna like mom brain. Okay, I can blame that. But it is such a huge deal, and I think we're still facing it in a way as well. Like I see it. It's a lot harder to get your message out there with so many messages now because people are using it as a tool. But that's a huge issue that is a huge challenge with social media. Is lots of the narrative is controlled by the platform owners and the people in the office at their desk typing away and finding posts that shouldn't be there or looking through reported posts, and somebody could report your post because they just don't like you, like things like
Right.
that. So
Right. Yeah, no, that's true. It's interesting as well because it seems like, depending on what you're viewing on a regular basis, you're so siloed by whatever information it's being fed to you. So, if you're constantly receiving opinions from let's say it's Democrat sources or liberal sources or people who, vote that way, or vice versa. You can put conservative there as well.
Yeah.
That seems to be the consistent messaging you're getting, which I guess is great in some ways if you're into like a certain hobby and that's what you want to see, right? But when it comes to politics or hearing other people's opinions, getting these silos or these echo chambers seem to be really, I don't know, seem to be detrimental to people more
No,
often than not.
it drives me crazy because I've said this for years now that generalizations are ruining our country. And honestly,
Mm,
even take it further and say our world, because people would be like, "Oh, you are a conservative, you automatically like Trump, or you automatically are, let's say, they use the word racist." I obviously
right.
completely disagree with that. And or let's say that you are on the Republican side. I One thing that I've been hating people say is rhino. If you don't
Mm.
like Trump, you're automatically a rhino, which is dividing the Republican Party. When you could like support most things that he stands for and things like that. I personally support president.
Sorry, explain what is a rhino? Just explain.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Rhino, I would say, I mean, I personally think of Rhino as more as a moderate Republican, but
Okay.
now it's been taken out of context where people immediately, if you don't like Trump, you're a Rhino, and I can't stand it because
Interesting.
we need to stand as a whole as a Republican Party to be able to win elections. We need to
Yeah.
mobilize all the voters we can, and if we're constantly battling against each other, Rhinos and I don't, they're not even, they shouldn't be different. It's a huge issue right now, and I can't have any warriors against me, but there's certain organizations that are creating that, making that more of an issue nowadays, which is
Yeah.
really hard to see. And then that's the thing though that the conservatives and liberals do to each other as well. Conservatives can say, "Oh, all liberals have blue hair. All
Right.
liberals are crazy," and let's say like the no kings they think Trump is bad, orange man bad. I don't know. I've talked to many liberals that are really good friends of mine that don't agree with everything, but when you keep making these generalizations, it's dividing people and polarizing people so bad it's going to start pushing people, but then it will keep going like this, and it's getting worse and worse and worse with social media
Yeah.
because people can hide
Yeah.
behind the screen and see whatever they want.
Right. Yeah, no, it does seem like a lot of people in general are more, I don't want to say middle of the road, but because
Mhm.
I think people have strong opinions one way or another, but it's not as extreme as the internet would like us to believe. And it seems like but how do you solve that really? Because in a lot of ways, the things that get views and the things that get attention online, where a lot of the political scene is moving, is
Mhm.
by being, outrageous and people being outraged and getting people to pay attention to those statements or those one-liners. So, how do you bring that back together? Because it seems like a lot of people want to live in polarization land, and it gets pretty difficult.
You know, I think it's a really great question. I think a lot of us have to still figure that one out.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we are actively, I think there's a mix of people who love it and they don't
Sure.
want to change that. They love the outrageousness. Have you seen the White House TikTok account?
Yeah. Yeah. I've seen
It
a few.
it's insane. It's entertaining. Don't get me
Yeah.
wrong, but I'm like, okay, this is the White House. Like, we need to have dignity for the calling of what it is. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
leader our country and things like that. And so I feel like it's a difference of traditionalism and modern society,
Mm.
where more modern things are more trendy and they want to be more. I feel like you see it with kids nowadays too. Things need to be more stimulating, or else they're gonna scroll past a video, or if it doesn't catch. I remember taking a class. I went to ASU for a little bit, and we were talking about social media. I was doing a class on it, and they said if you don't capture somebody's attention within the first 3 seconds, and I think now it's even 1 second, then people are going
Really?
to 1 second.
Wow.
So it needs to have a hook right in
Yeah.
the beginning, or else people are scrolling. And I think that's the problem is like you want to get people's attention, you want to get your message out there, so you want people to pay attention. And right now, the only way to do that is being crazy. It's like
Right.
it's wild. And so it's creating this image where everybody has to be crazy if they want to get their message or attention out there. And I mean, I'm guilty of it. I don't want to watch a video I think is going to be boring. Like,
Yeah.
but I've fallen into that, and I know I'm not the only one because that's what society is doing. But that's the hard part of the political scene and world now is that's what it is, and it's hard to watch sometimes.
Yeah, no, yeah, I think you're right. I mean, I feel like in a lot of ways we've been so socially captured just because I hear so many people either on the podcast or just in conversations with people who talk about wanting to be more connected to the real world, being more connected to their peers, to friends, family, whatever, be more connected just to reality. And they feel like that's slowly slipping. But then we're still so locked into this social media and this online forum where it's just like quick snap bites, fast pace, people smashing their face, bone smashing, look smacks. I mean, all these things.
Yeah.
And we're a little bit older than the generation coming up who's being,
Mhm.
because I mean, you and I probably we had at least part of our teenage development that wasn't necessarily connected to a device, at least to not the same extreme. But
Mhm.
people who are 14 years old now, I look at it going, man, that's all they know.
All
And
they
yeah, I mean, that's just
I
tough.
think of my kids too, and I'm like, they're growing up in this age where, like, even like I have an 8 month old, and his name's Cash. And Cash, when we are like, if I have a show on, I've started to be like, oh my gosh, he like locks in right away, like
Yeah,
right. And I'm like, okay, and I have to figure something out. But he's already his attention goes to that. I think of I have a 16-year-old sister, almost 16-year-old sister, and I think that's one of the things I watched her growing up. Like she was this is funny to think about. You know the TikTok dance, I'm a savage,
yeah,
sassy,
yeah,
I probably said classy, whatever.
yeah.
That dance, she was like 11 and she probably should not have been doing this dance, but she was like learning this TikTok dance and she's like 10 or 11. I When I was 10 or 11, I was using Video Star maybe. And
Right.
it wasn't anything with social media. It was just me having fun with my friends. If anything, that's what I was doing. Or what was it on the old Apple computers, the photo booth?
Oh, like
Talking about
Photoshop or something, or
yeah,
yeah,
something where
something
you can
like that. Yeah,
make videos on the computer and
like
like hold
iMovie or whatever. You could make little. Yeah,
something like that. That's what I was doing. But now she grew up already learning that people like thinking about what people think about her online versus just with people around her. Like
yeah,
I'm so grateful for serving a mission for my church that like with my phone I learned to kind of hate it, and I sometimes I hate the fact I'm working on social media because I just want to detach. But it
right.
now it's taught me so much that when I'm around other people, I try to just stay off my phone as much as I can. Like I will not go on reels unless I'm completely by myself and I have to like be like, okay, I'm just gonna do this for a little bit until this time, and then I'll give myself a moment. But because I want to be engaged with the people I'm with, and those are the people I care about most in my relationship with them. So that's, I think, something that kids nowadays are lacking because they've grown up with people, what they think about them from such a young age on social media.
Right. No, yeah. No, I think that's super smart. You have to have some way to control the device, right? Because
Oh,
I
yeah.
think of it a lot with like AI now too. I think people are freaking out about AI, and it's like, well, we shouldn't let it take over. We need to we like control every aspect of what we do, but
Yeah.
we need to learn how to use it to benefit in a positive way. And
Mm.
I can't remember where I heard it, but I heard this one phrase or this line. They were talking about phones, how um, they're talking about people who generally have mirrors in their house, and the ones who
Uh-huh.
have less mirrors in their house tend to be less. They spend less time comparing themselves to other things, and they were mentioning how your phone is like a mirror basically,
Mm.
and it's just a giant comparison machine, and how we're putting people on this at such a young age where that's all they're doing is
Well,
comparing their life to everybody else's and what they do, and
can I tell
so
you,
yeah,
it scares me what I hear and
yeah,
see from my little sister. Like, there are moments I was talking with my mom about this. I like she'd kill me. My little sister would be like, "Why are you saying this?" But it breaks my heart to see that because I already see it at moments that she, like, I think I'm gonna sound crazy, but I think body image is a huge thing right now. Is it's
Absolutely,
like
yeah.
you could be so fit and look so great, and you're still wanting to change the body that you have because people are showing you the body that they have, and like,
Mm,
but or like the Ozempic world that we're in right now. Like,
yeah.
it seems like everybody wants to cut weight or they want to jump on Ozempic. Where after having a baby, I'm like, oh my gosh, I wish I appreciated the body I had right before I just had my baby because it's a lot different now. And
Yeah.
I still have to learn to love it because I'm probably going to be saying that in like 20 years. Oh my gosh, I wish I appreciated what I had then. But it's the environment that we're put in. We're constantly comparing and wishing that we had something that we don't because people
Mm,
post their best or they're posting um how they look or they're posting things like that, and it's crazy what it does to your brain. You're constantly
right.
comparing that. What's it say? Comparison is of the devil. Is that like the saying, right? Something
Yeah,
like that.
comparisons of the devil, the thief of joy. Yeah, I
Yeah,
think something like
that's
that.
Eve of Joy, something like that. I've been very broad, but
Mm,
same thing in a way.
no,
But
yeah, no, I think you're right. Go ahead.
so it's
Sorry.
no, you're good. It's just it's hard to see. It's really sad to see because I can only imagine how hard it is
Mm,
growing up in that world to constantly feel like you need to change who you are or who you are is not good enough. And I think that that is a huge problem that needs to change.
yeah, no, yeah, it does really warp the way you view just everything. I mean, we already live in a great time where everything's really convenient, and a
Mhm.
lot of the maybe a lot of the physical pressures of life aren't nearly as difficult as they were, 50 years ago, 100 years ago. Even people who are struggling financially, they're probably not starving. They're usually probably
Yeah.
okay. Um, and so, but yeah, I think it warps the idea of kind of what you're saying. It's like you see a body or somebody online with a good physique or whatever, and you don't know how long they've been working towards that or how much effort's
Yeah.
been put in or even if it's real. But yet you're comparing yourself to that view, and that's
Well, and
just it's not realistic.
people are gonna change how they look too versus like if I'm just sitting here relaxed versus if I'm posing, it's
Yeah,
gonna be different. Like and social media is a lot of posing, you're showing people what you want them to see. And I think
totally.
that's when you come back to again the politics, people are gonna show the things you want them to see. And then people are going to decide what they think or they're going to compare and do that, but it goes back to how much social media can influence an individual based on what they're seeing out online. So that's why it's important to be a game player in it, because if you're not, you're irrelevant. And I think
Right.
that's the huge thing is you need to be relevant in the political scene, and kids nowadays, they want to be relevant at school, they want to be relevant in their life. Like I'm like, there's no way I'm gonna know what people I went to high school with are doing unless I'm on social media. It's
Right.
crazy. So it's a total relevancy thing, which is it's a blessing and a curse.
Yeah. No, totally. No, it is really there's a lot of good that comes from it. You can get a message out a lot better than you used to, but it
Mhm.
definitely takes its toll. How do you think that because it's interesting how at the same time everybody's obsessed with social media and short form content, it seems
Mhm.
like there's a huge uptick in like long form discussion based content as well, like via
Mhm.
podcast, where it's really unfiltered and it's just very like you're getting the entire discussion. Because I think for a long time you received traditional media, which was kind of a soundbite with people giving their hit on a topic, and now there seems to be a big turn towards lot more long form content.
Yeah. I think a huge thing for that is I think people are craving
Mm.
knowledge and authenticity. I think, like you said, they're without like edits. It's just a conversation. I this is gonna people might judge me a little bit. Show that is my vice is Dance Moms. I love Dance Moms. I find it hilarious. I find it crazy, and I just find it entertaining. But
You're
something
an
that
Abby
they
Lee fan, huh?
Yes, Amelie and the moms. I actually just met Christy and Kelly.
Really?
Yeah, I'll tell you more about that later. Super fun.
Okay.
But um I with that though, they do a really good job. They make you when you're like the moms are sitting up there, they have like this second story seating area to watch the dance floor of their girls. When they're sitting up there with the cameras and everything, we don't see the cameras, right? We don't see all the microphones and all that, but we feel like we're sitting up there with them
Mm,
and watching their kids with them. Like we feel like we're just a part of the conversation. We're also the dance moms. Like we can talk about it. Like it makes you feel like you're in and in and everything. I think a lot of podcasts are doing that really well, where they make you feel like you're in the conversation with them. Like you're talking, they're listening. They're like, oh yeah, like they could just be sitting at the table with us or
mm,
things like that. So I think that's a huge reason that people are gravitating towards that, especially with things they can relate to and they're interested in. And I think people too are craving information right now. I think in a world of misinformation and lots of truths being skewed and changed, people really want to hear it. Not necessarily that somebody on a podcast could be correct, but they want to hear it from different perspectives and point of views because that's what helps people form their own opinions and thoughts and to learn things. But that's a certain audience of people who do want to create. This could be for entertainment or knowledge or things like that. But that was, yeah, that's true.
right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. No, I think you're right. I think there's, the short form stuff, there's so much of it. There's so much content out there. It's almost hard to absorb. And so people, you always kind of have that. It's like it's a natural pendulum swing, swinging from one extreme to the next. I think that's pretty typical. What going back to because like I said, you've met Trump, you had some cool experiences with him, um, but there does seem to be a lot of lack of unity in the Republican Party right now,
Yeah.
and what do you think's driving that? Do you think Trump has kind of lost the support of MAGA? Do you think what's your opinion on it?
So I have a very strong opinion on this, actually. I think so. President Trump, I've had great experiences with him. Matt was just saying that I was able to meet him. So when the first time I met him, I was 12 and I was on the way to a friend's birthday party and I wanted to get a video of him saying happy birthday to my friend. And so I did like a selfie video, and this was my first time meeting him, and that's what I chose to ask him. So he was so sweet about it, and he was so excited, and he said happy birthday. And then the next time I had met him, I actually had the opportunity to speak at one of his rallies in Phoenix, and I was 13, and I went and this is kind of cool to bring this up. This just paints a background of a little bit about President Trump, but
Sure.
when President Trump gets to a venue, he likes to usually just go right on stage. He will cut the program because there's always a pre-program, especially at these rallies. He will cut the pre-program and he just wants to go on stage. Well, I hadn't spoken yet, and Trump had arrived at the venue. And I remember it was President Trump, Jeff DeWitt, he was the treasurer of Arizona at the time, and then it was me. And they're both talking to me, and I'm looking up. They're very tall, and I was very short at the time. And Jeff DeWitt was like, "Okay, if you're gonna do this, you have to be really fast because he's ready to go." And he goes, "Oh no, let her go." He's like, "You go ahead, honey. Like, do what you gotta do." Like, super sweet. And so I was like, okay, like nervous and everything. So I went and I gave my speech. And when I got off, the first person that greeted me was President Trump. And he was, "That was amazing." And he gave me multiple hugs. And I always say, like, grandpa kiss on the cheek, like, "You're amazing." And I was like, oh my gosh, like it feels like a fever dream in the moment it did. And he was so kind. And then he even gave me a shout out on stage because he's so good. He always tries to highlight people and their accomplishments. And that was my experience with him. And that's the type of person he is.
Hmm.
And then we can see again with media and social media, people like to focus on the negatives. So they did not ever really highlight that side of President Trump. And now social media is giving him a bit of an opportunity to do that. But with your question, to answer it, I know that was a long tangent.
You're good.
But with your question on the divide in the Republican Party, the Republican Party, my dad always called it, because obviously the GOP, the Great Opportunity Party. We obviously have our platform, keep the Constitution alive, We want to make sure people have freedom, prosperity, their faith, family, like all these important values, right? Um, that's very traditional way of thinking. And I think that the Republican Party has, I think social media is a huge reason to do with this. Um, since President Trump was elected, there's lots of people who they noticed how much of a powerful person he is. And President Trump was not always involved in politics. He was obviously a very successful businessman, if not one of the most successful. And I think that he's really good with business. He knows to surround himself with people who are better at the job than he is. And I
Mm,
think he has done that with politics, but I think that he, in a way, in some areas, has been misled with the people he's been surrounded with,
mm,
in a way where they're not changing who he is, but they're changing to what the Republican Party is. So now I feel like a lot of people who support President Trump or are Republican or things like that, I feel like there has been a new Republican Party of people that are just supporters of Trump. And that's where you hear all the crazy stuff of like ultra MAGA or like, I'm trying to think the best way to say this. People who, no matter what Trump says, who he endorses, and all this, they're going to just believe that like it's the Bible.
sure.
That I think is very wrong. I
Mm,
think you need to look at a person, look at their platform, look at what they say, their politics, I support President Trump, but I'm not gonna just agree with everything that he says because he's President Trump. You know what I mean? So
sure.
it's I think that's the issue in the Republican Party right now. And then that's where the term rhino comes in, where if somebody disagrees with something that President Trump believes, they could be diehard everything except one issue. There will be a certain group of Republicans who will say, "You're a rhino," even though you're still a Republican and on the same team and will vote for the same people, you're still a rhino. And I think that's creating such a huge divide. I I will straight up say it. I think certain organizations, and not that this is their intention, but I think an organization like Turning Point USA, I think they've definitely changed the image of the Republican Party in a way that they're trying to take over. Not
Sure.
again, not that these are their intentions, but I believe that they are kind of taking over the Republican Party and changing it to what it isn't and isn't what it always was with those traditional core values. It's become a lot of the image, the fame. People like to be on stage and cheered for rather than door knocking in the heat in Arizona or elsewhere in the humidity. People like to go to events and party and go to concerts and socialize
Mm,
versus hard for those grassroots traditional things that win elections. And so I think that that's why we're losing a lot of elections, or especially in Arizona. I think it's because we're losing hardworking Republicans that
yeah.
want to actually go to the core thing that gets people elected and makes us us. I think that that's kind of getting skewed and lost, which makes me really sad. That was a very long answer, but there
No,
it
you're
is.
good. You're good. I appreciate your breakdown of it because I think, I- I just hear from friends, people around. It seems like there's almost three splinter groups. One being, like you said, very, I don't even know what you'd call it, but very whatever President Trump says is great. Whatever the administration currently does, don't question it. There's definitely that portion who are just probably die hard on that extreme. Um,
Totally.
then I think you got people in the middle who maybe see good in a lot of different circumstances, maybe see some of the things going on and don't love it as much, or maybe don't fully understand what, they would be curious to know what's the reasoning behind it. And then I think you got another splinter group that's really frustrated about, for example, not enough immigration, not enough conservative principles, getting into the conflict in Iran, align themselves too heavily with Israel. Some of those type of talking points seem to come up, and a lot of them being pushed by popular media as well. Candace Tucker, some of those different groups, I think, are pretty vocal about that. But yeah, it's weird because there was a brief stint where it seemed like everyone was coordinated, was a little more united, but that since has really splintered off, and
Yeah.
I think it seems like a lot of people seem almost like homeless as far as politically, because even on a liberal Democrat side. There's some who are very extreme, but if you're a little bit in the middle ground, you don't really know where you land.
Yeah, it's really sad because that's the polarization. It's like if you don't agree die hard with everything, then you don't have a place. They're like kind of telling you, oh, you're not actually a Republican or you're not actually a Democrat. You are in this realm and this, and it is really sad for me to see it. Again, I keep saying that I'm sad to see all this because it's not the way that it always was, where
Sure.
you could still put your arm around somebody and say, hey, let's go knock this door for this candidate because they're going to give us the best opportunity in our lives versus this candidate that we disagree with. Even though maybe you don't agree with everything this candidate stands for, we're still going to go do this because it's the best opportunity for our lives and for our state and our country. And nowadays that just doesn't happen. People are not bounding together. They're not we're one in we should be one in purpose as a team to get Republicans elected. Democrats should be one in purpose and team to get Democrats elected. Like that should be that's I think the beauty of politics. I do love it. I think it's changed. It's harder to love nowadays, I think. But it I think that's the beauty of it though, because you can work together as a greater good and it's so powerful and so cool to do something that you care about and is meaningful. And I think that people are getting so caught up in I would say the grifters, where they just want to get there for the fame and they want the attention and they want the socialization and they want those things rather than what actually matters. And I think it's hard to see the change.
Do you think with the voices that maybe are very vocal splinter wise, maybe being considered as splintering the party? I think obviously you've got the Trump administration, you've got the kind of main Republican cohort that's running the government, right?
Mhm.
But then you've got these outside voices that maybe were in favor at one point, but they've splintered off since and become pretty vocal otherwise. Do you
Yeah.
think there's validity in that? Do you think both groups are just kind of attacking for the sake of getting views, or does any side really have, are they just, what do you think the reasoning is?
So I will say I always had a problem when people would splinter and then go against a person. The reason I say that is because again, you're not going to maybe you do. Some people do. And I don't want to make a generalization. So
Sure.
most people don't just flip a switch and then like go from a Republican to a Democrat in a night. Some people do, and that's their choice and their freedom to do it. But the people who splinter off, what are they achieving? And what's the benefit of what they're doing and what difference are they going to make by saying that?
Right.
That's what I think because people have splintered off and then they go, let's say for this has happened to President Trump throughout for since 2016 and before and things like that where lots of people that supported him completely did a 180 and went way against him to the point where you're like, and I think this is where Rhino started coming from because people it's like, are you on the same team? Why are you doing this? We're not being united. We're not like try to be next to him and help him be better.
Mm,
Like I I personally am a strong believer we need good people in politics. Don't just say, "Oh, I don't want to be it's so corrupt." Join it and try to be that good person that we wish were there. You know what I mean?
mm,
And I
yeah.
think that that's something with those splintering off. Again, what is it achieving? What is it helping? It's not going to really do much good. Maybe if you're really I mean, obviously, again, I can't say this generalization. Sometimes that you do need to speak up and use your voice. But I think in a lot of those cases that I saw in the political scene, it was definitely the intentions were not really to come together and
Mm,
fight. It was I'm going to say how bad you are, and it's getting me attention. And
mm.
now I have to continue to say things because I just did that. If that makes sense. But
Right, right. No, I could see that. It seems like a lot of people want to put out sound bites or something that they know will get attention to get the
yeah,
attention, but they're not necessarily interested in getting actively involved in making it better. Um,
absolutely,
other,
exactly. And
yeah,
again, just try to help our leaders. Like, pray for our leaders, even if you completely disagree with them. Like when President Biden was president, I will 100% say I do not agree with almost everything that he stands for and what he does. But I will still pray for him and hope that he is a successful leader for our country because I love our country. And I think that that's what a lot of people are missing the whole purpose for. Because, yes, we have the party politics, but at the end of the day, we're all Americans
Mm.
and we need to come together as Americans to support our leaders, even if we disagree with them. And so I think that, that's the bottom line where I hate this divide in the specific parties because I'm like, what are you trying to achieve? It's not doing any good. So I think
Yeah.
that's because at the end of the day, we are all Americans. It matters a lot.
Yeah. No, I think a lot more people would be, well, we'd all be a lot better off if we were a little more focused on where we come together than where we are different. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious, have you heard much about the 4B movement that's
For
online?
Wait, no, tell me about it. I
So
have.
it's this idea. I think it populates from feminism and some of those general ideas, but it originates from South Korea, and it stands for it's because I guess B is like similar to no, like in South Korea, like in Korean,
Okay.
and so it's the no's of dating. It's like no dating, no sex, no marriage, and no children with men. It's this like idea that's I guess started in South Korea, but it's kind of starting to populate online
Wow.
with the younger generation or being boy sober. I don't know if you've heard that term either,
Mm.
um, but it seems like there's this, and just talking with friends and family, I hear from a lot of younger people this, wanting to be able to connect with the opposite sex or wanting to be able to connect with their peers and
Mm-hmm.
feeling like the deck is stacked against them, where people, women don't care about guys, like they just want to be friends with other women or they want to pursue a career or they want to pursue, something outside of the gender norm and
Yeah.
family typical roles. And men, at the same time, I hear from women all the time how it's like, well, they're just not meeting my needs. They're not stepping up to the table. They're just scared to talk to me. So I don't know if you've seen that or not, but obviously you kind of have done a little bit of both. You've been in the political scene, you've had some career moments, you went out on a mission, you're also married and doing that as well. So
Mhm.
I don't know if you've seen that type of, maybe not that trend specifically, but that
Yeah.
in the stratosphere.
I have totally seen it, and it's. I keep saying this phrase today, but it's hard to watch. I think when it goes down to like, I have a lot of friends who have told me specifically, I had one friend in particular, and I think she felt the pressure of the fact that I was having a child. She kept like feeling like she had to justify to me why she wasn't like having kids or wanting to get married right away. And again, everybody does have their own timeline, and God's timing's perfect for
Mm,
each and every person. But what I will say is I feel so much more fulfilled and purposeful as being a mother and a wife. And having my husband there to support me, to love me, to uplift me, and I'm happy. I don't feel empty inside. I have my faith, my family, I have my and the love that you feel from just a little one just snuggling up with you. Like there's nothing else like it. So what I'll say with all these people, um, careers, I think you can learn a lot, and I think they can be really great if you love to work and you can do that. And specifically as a woman, it's pretty fun. Like when you're passionate about something, I say go for it. But I don't think it should ever stop you from wanting to be a wife or a mother
mm,
because that is going to be even more rewarding. Like I remember when I was in Washington, D.C., um, I, my boyfriend at the time, who's now my husband, was out serving his mission, and so we were away from each other for. It ended up being about almost a little over 3 years, but at this time he had been out for like a year and a half, and I remember it was so hard for me to be away from him. And I would go. I was doing my dream. I was in my dream career. I was working for a member of Congress, and I was working as his actually as my title was assistant press secretary, but I also did news anchor type work for his office through social media, funny enough, where I would do like a little news report for his office and they'd post it, and it was really fun. But with that, I enjoyed every moment. I was in DC. I had always dreamed about living there and being super involved. But I'd come home at the end of the day to no one. I
mm.
felt so lonely. Like my family was back in Arizona. I had my friends, but they didn't live with me. I um I had some roommates, but your roommates again, they aren't your family, they're your roommates, and they sometimes you get annoyed or they get annoyed with you. And um but I remember just thinking the whole time Cody was on his mission, just being like, dang, I wish I could share this with him. Like experience
Mm,
this with him. It's kind of feels meaningless to me that I can't share it with someone that I love. And at the end of the day, I'm so grateful. Like I'm chasing my dreams. I started my own business. It's called Faith Forward Social with this political world and helping businesses and the social scene and social media and understanding where people don't always understand it. But I'm chasing that and I'm trying to create it in a way where I can still be the best mom I can be and wife and those responsibilities, but also do what I love and I'm passionate about. But I'm just the reason I'm saying all this is you if you tell yourself you can't do both or can't do it all, you can't. But if you tell yourself you can, you will be able to make anything happen. And I think that's the mindset a lot of people have is they have to choose one or the other. You
mm.
cannot do both, or you have to do one and then you can do the other, rather than vice versa. And I think that's really sad because that is not the way it's supposed to be at all. That's not why so many women went through all that they did to get people to vote for them to be able to work or vote. Or this is not why. That was not the purpose. And I think they would be really sad if they heard that women didn't want to be mothers or wives because it's in our nature. I really do think so.
Yeah, no, it seems like there's and we've been kind of hitting on this throughout talking, but I guess a culture or an idea that's being just added to that you need to pick between extremes, right? And I think women especially are being kind of torn between this battle of like, do I give up on these ideas and dreams and all these things that I see out there that could be possibilities, or do I, and unfortunately it's being painted, or do I give up on, motherhood and kids, which are going to hold me back, and this is going to stop me from this and that, and really being who I could potentially be. But yeah, it's people have been pursuing and achieving things for a long time and doing both. So it's odd to see.
It's crazy too because when you say like learn and grow, people think that they have to do that first. I love the idea that I get to grow with my kids and
Mhm.
I get to grow with my husband because we're going to be that much more united, get more time together. I can, when the time comes, it is not going to be for a very long time, but I'll be able to be so much more present in the lives of my grandchildren. Like, I love the fact that I started young as a mom because I have that time and I can learn and I can grow with them rather than wait to do so. And I'm just so grateful because nowadays it's like, oh, you have to be so knowledgeable, so prepared, so financially prepared. Like, you're going to figure it out. I've learned you have to adapt, whether it is a career in being a mom or whether it is having multiple children or it's figuring life out. You're going to have to adapt and you're going to be able to figure out a way to make it happen. But you're going to learn and you're going to grow with your family. That I think is so beautiful.
Absolutely. I mean, it goes back to what we were talking about right at the beginning, involving your kids in, your life, and then they learn and
Mhm.
they gain experiences as they see what you're doing and get to be involved, and you kind of all grow together. Do you think that there is a coordinated effort to try and dissuade younger generations from, starting families, having kids, repopulating, all those type of things? Do you think that's coordinated? Do you think that's just it's just the nature of the kind of polarizing world and social media that we're living in, or do you think there's something deeper than that?
So I think there's a couple of things. I think there are some groups that is their goal. I think that they want to show women that they don't need a man, they don't need
Mm,
to have babies to feel purposeful. If you choose not to have kids, that's okay. And
yeah.
I personally think that it
Those are the
is.
ones taking the Tylenol, like the bottle of Tylenol when they.
See, and I personally think that would be so sad to tell someone that because again, it's by design, God's design. Like we are mothers, and
Mm,
again, we can be mothers in different capacities, whether it is like adoption, fostering, or having our own children. But I think that there are groups who want you to fit a mold in their way where they're like, oh, it doesn't matter what a guy thinks. It doesn't matter this. Like, you do whatever you want. And I think that's also hurting marriages too, because if people are jumping in their marriages with that mindset, they're
Mm,
not working as a team. It's like whatever I want goes. And I see that actually with a lot of women my age, is they are like, it's their way or the highway. Their husband is so submissive to them to the point
mm,
where they dictate everything. He does not have a voice. They need to work together. And it's really hard for me to see. But I say all this too, something to bring up. This is kind of a sensitive topic, but I think actually abortion,
mm,
I think there's a huge abortion movement right now where it's really, again, bringing up the issue of career and family and not being ready and not in the traditional way of thinking. And I think it also brings up taking away the value of a child as well. And I think that is a really dangerous way to think because it is hurting the family unit of why God created us and gave us the power to procreate and things like that. I think it's really sad to see that that is kind of changing our culture as women that, oh, yeah, if you don't want a baby, you don't have to have a baby, but you can do everything to make that happen. But I think that and it brings up again career or being a mother. It brings that up.
yeah.
So,
Well, and it seems like, and the two issues women I think seem to be really passionate about when it comes politically in general. I know there's plenty of women who are passionate about a lot of the different aspects of the political
yeah.
sphere. You're a great example of that. But in general, it's usually abortions and social type issues. And
Yes.
I guess my question, is there any realistic reason abortion should be a topic? Or is it just something that's been politicized to a point where it's one of those trigger topics? I just I don't fully understand it. It seems like it's something that's more targeted towards women in general.
For
Um, but yeah, what's your opinion on that?
I think it's a very emotional topic. And I think this is what the left does very well is they tie in with emotions because
Yeah.
you could see I bottom line I'm 100% pro-life. I'm like it's a baby, it's a baby. The baby didn't do anything wrong. Why punish the child?
Right.
Um, I think when it goes to um, a lot of these the left is really good at being like, oh, well, you have to think of the mom, the mom, the mom, the mom, the mom. And a lot of women do feel lonely when sometimes pregnancy does feel lonely. Sometimes you don't have that support. You don't feel ready. There's other resources and other options. And in the abortion movement, they make you kind of feel like, oh, there's no option for
Mhm.
adoption. Or actually, I loved it. There's a Super Bowl commercial that said adoption is an option. Like, you don't have to abort your child. But when it comes down to it, I think the reason it's so sensitive, I think it's because people feel the pressure of maybe they feel the pressure maybe they want a child or maybe um they feel so set on their career or things like that. I think it goes back to again family or career. It seems like people only choose one or the other at
Yeah.
this point. But it but honestly I really feel like it's such an emotional thing because people either um honestly, like you said, it's hard to fully understand, I think, because everybody has such a different opinion about it and they have such different lines. It's about what is morally correct, and then people also go into like a tangent. There's a spiritual lens through it. There is obviously the biological lens through it. There is and then you add in politics on top of that. Like there's so many different lenses to look at it through that it's hard to pinpoint why it's like so powerful. I just simply
Right.
think it's a baby, and especially after having my own child, it's even more so that I'm like it's like what the number one issue I'm conservative is
Yeah.
I'm pro life, but um I just think of it, I think it's so impactful because people that are pro life are like it's a baby, it's a
Yeah.
baby, and people who are pro choice are like it's the mom, it's the woman, it's the woman. So both are equally important and they're they're combating with that and so they're both emotional triggers. but and they feel like the conservatives are devaluing the woman, and the conservatives feel that the oh my gosh, this is a mouthful. The liberals are devaluing the baby. And so
Yeah,
I think that it goes that's like think the simple way to put it in the long answer. I had to like think through that as I was talking.
no,
But
you're
like
good.
I think that that goes into it. I think you can't blame people coming from a good place, but again, I think a good place can be misinterpreted in a very negative way, which I think happens a lot with this topic, and people get so heated about it because they care about the woman and they care about the baby, and then one is either put on a pedestal and both sides dies.
Yeah, it's such a weird issue in to have in like the political realm because it's I think you said it really well. People want to be compassionate and they want to be understanding, and just in general I think we as like people want to be understanding, but then it's like who are we being understanding for and of? Are we being understanding the parent? And like you get those weird case, not weird cases, but you get those extreme cases where it was a birth through rape, and so does he really want to carry that rapist child? And once again, it's like, well, but is that child guilty of any of that? I don't know. And so, but you can also see on the flip side, you're like, well, that's true. That's a pretty tough situation. So it's this weird thing that seems to get manipulated for people's compassion and their emotion to try and drive an issue. Um, but yeah, I think it's one of those things where the one interesting thing I thought when you're just talking about all these different social issues is it seems to be consistently through all the issues. It's this battle between having a care for your own wants and desires and a care for other people's wants and desires. My career versus being married and having to put up with other people or have to build a family who I have to deal with versus putting up with my own wants, or I have a baby and I'm gonna have to take care of it versus, oh, I take care of this baby. It's kind of this battle between your personal desires and having to think of other people's in the process, which unfortunately I don't think we're getting very good at as a society. We seem to be more and more about ourselves than about other people, it seems like.
No, I see that so much. I think I had this conversation with my mom the other day. We were just talking about generation right now in high school and kind of the people my sister's surrounded with right now
Yeah.
is really hard for her. It's a lot about me, 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 me. What do I want? What do I want to do? I need to be independent. I need to be able to follow my dreams. And you're not thinking outward, it's all inward
Mm.
in a negative way. Because I think you could think inward on like, okay, how can I be better? But it's all like thinking inward of, oh my
Yeah,
gosh,
it
like
never seems to be that one. It never seems to be that type, does it?
so sad. But I think that a lot of people need to think outward because I think that would magically change our society if you're so concerned about other people. And again, I think that that's a beautiful thing for mothers as well. That I am so humbled to be a mom now because it is hard. Like I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It is hard, but in a way that I didn't think that it would be. It's like you don't think about the days where you're super sick. I was just really sick for a long time. I'm still a mom. I don't think moms should be allowed to get sick, by the way. I don't think so. But I'm still going to wake up with my baby. I'm still going to change his diaper. I'm still going to try to play with him as much as I can. And I'm still going to be there for him how he needs, no matter how much I might be coughing or blowing my nose. And so it's, I'm thinking about him, but as I'm thinking about him, you feel the love that he has for you. You are loving others. Like, have you ever done an act of service and felt bad about it?
Very rarely. I would say it's usually the before the service that's not as fun, but no,
Yeah.
not generally. It's really hard to.
Yeah, like after you think, like, I feel good. I just do.
Yeah.
Like that, I feel like is the life when you turn outwards and you just want to uplift people. You want to tell them you love them, or you just want to shoot a text to somebody you're thinking about, or you give all your love to your children, to your wife, like to your kids. I just am, it's, It's crazy how it can make you such a better person, be so much aware of those around you and how you can become better to be better. I'll say this one. I know I'm like
Oh, you're
glad.
good.
It's just these are such good things to talk about. But there's somebody that I was a good family friend, and he had shared with my family. He said, if you were to take, okay, let's say you hang out with, you have like five friends that you're really close to. If you were to take each of those five friends and you rate them 1 to 10, and then you take the average of that number, that's who you are.
Mm,
And I was like, whoa, that's deep. Because when you think about it, like you want to surround yourself with people who are going to uplift you, that are going to be better people, that are going to be service oriented, that are going to be there for you when you need it. But also, in turn, you need to be the type of friend that they want too. And I think that
totally.
that's what a lot of people are lacking nowadays is not thinking in that way of surrounding themselves with people who are going to make them better, but also trying to be that person that people want to surround themselves with. That was my
Totally.
thing,
No,
but
yeah. I mean, it's tough. It's like, and it's hard too because I think a lot of young people are confused on what to shoot for. You know, they're
mhm.
not sure what example to follow. They're being, I always have this, especially in the dating scene. I mean, there used to be a time where you could live in the same community with, somebody who maybe they went to the same school, maybe they have, similar upbringings. Maybe you didn't know each other, but you grew
Yeah.
up in a similar community. And even if you didn't know each other before you started dating, you could assume based off those people you associated with that they were probably a good person and had similar, belief systems. But nowadays, you can live down the street from somebody and they could be being brought up with completely different ideologies and beliefs
Mhm.
because there's just so many things to be influenced by. And I think with the oversaturation of influence, it's almost like, well, what do I shoot for? Who do I follow and become? And so I agree. I think having people, who's in your inner circle and who you really listen to, just a huge factor.
Totally. And I think that that's key also to make sure you give your kids or give yourself opportunities to be in good environments. Because if you keep going to places where you're going to be I went to college. We had some moments where go to a little club scene. I will tell you, that is not my favorite place to be. If I had to go now, I'd be like, oh, like you know what I mean?
Right.
Because I learned, I'm like, I don't really like to be in this environment because it didn't make me feel good. But I'm like, I was looking around at what people were doing, how they were feeling. I remember I had a friend like throwing up after. I'm like, that just no, I don't want to be doing that.
Right.
Or and I didn't want that to become my life. There's moment like or I'd go to like a church youth group or I'd go to I wasn't going to clubs and youth group by the way. But you go to um you go to church. We had young single adult activities and I'd go there and I just would feel uplifted and I'd feel loved and I'd be like, okay, these are the type of people, they seem so much happier. Like this is true joy. This is joy
Yeah.
that's not just temporary. So I think that type of environment you choose to put yourself in puts you around those type of people you should be around. And I think that that makes you a happy person and the person you want to be. But you have to have the discipline to choose those environments versus what might seem fun in the moment. You're going to have to learn probably pretty quick that that's not going to be sustainable happiness. And so I think that that's what a lot of people nowadays are lacking is that self-discipline to choose those other options.
Yeah. Yeah, not a lot of great opportunities to practice discipline, it seems like nowadays. And
No.
you have to inflict it upon yourself. And if
Yes.
if no one's willing to inflict it upon you, you've got to take that initiative, and that seems to be the real battle for people now, it seems like.
Completely. That's something my husband does very well. He is so good at being self-disciplined. Like when it comes to his phone, he makes sure he sets timers. He's like, I have to get up at this time. I have to go to bed at this time. Like he motivates me to look inward in a good way. Like, okay, what do I need to change where I can be more self-disciplined and do better at that? And I'm so incredibly grateful. And again, the other perk of being married, it's important. They help you become better, and that's again when you put yourself in those places, you're gonna find maybe that person that does make you want to get married. I think actually, bringing that up again, I think that's another thing that that a lot of girls will say. Like I had a friend, and she was like, "Yeah, I just don't want to have kids." She grew up as the oldest sibling, and she was constantly taking care of her younger siblings
Mm,
all the time, and it made it where she's like, "I don't want to have kids. This is not fun." She's not enjoying it. Which again, if you're constantly watching younger siblings, you're not their mom, but you have to act
yeah.
like their mom, and that's not fun for anyone. But I told her, I remember saying this to her, I said, wait till you find the guy and you fall in love with him, then you're going to want to have his kids. And of course, your kids. But just wait, and then it's going to change for you. I remember a phone call when she started dating this guy that she totally fell in love with. And she was like, oh my gosh, I totally want to have kids now. This is crazy. Like it just, it's in your nature, but again, you're not going to find those people and have that desire or that person you want to be with if you're consistently in environments where you're not going to find those. Like you have to attract what you want. Is that the phrase?
Yeah.
Be who you
Yeah.
want to attract or something.
Hmm.
um be who you want to attract, and you have to put yourself in places to attract that. If you want a husband versus a boyfriend or a quick little, I don't know, little hookup. You're not that's not going to be a husband most likely. In some cases probably it probably has happened, but you know what I mean? You have to put yourself in those places and positions to have what you want and what you aspire or find out you
Right.
want. Yeah.
Right, right. No, your environment, it's huge. I mean, yeah, especially for even for guys too. I mean, you can't be smoking weed and drinking and on your Xbox 24/7 playing games in the basement and hope for, for some lady to just drop on your lap. It's just unrealistic. And unfortunately, I
Exactly.
think people think that reality is coming their way and it's like no, you have to work for it a little bit. You have to be willing to
Mhm.
put yourself out there and
Totally.
get off the couch and make it happen. It's just how the world works. But people are so used to having everything catered to them and just
Mhm.
convenient. It's like it's just a slap in the face almost of shock when they realize that they actually have to do something to get something.
Exactly. And I think that's again the problem with today's society is workers are doing the bare minimum.
Hmm.
People are becoming lazier and lazier. And I think people, like you said, you can't just sit in your basement and wait to find a wife. Like you have to go out and actually, like I had a friend for a while, she didn't want to go out. She didn't want to meet people and she didn't want to do this, but she really wanted to get married. And I was like, what do you expect? And it's like the online dating scene, which is it's rough, the online dating scene. But I'm like, you're not gonna meet. I mean, actually, I think she did end up meeting her husband from one of those sites, but you have to go in person to meet.
Yeah.
He is now married, but she had to go out with him and like actually go out and meet people. And I think that that's the problem is people are lazy and expecting lots of other opportunities to come its way without putting the hard work in, which is
Yeah.
not good.
Yeah. Well, Faith, is there any hope for the next generation? Is there, do we stand, does that, do they stand a chance?
You know what's funny? I think that probably every generation above the upcoming generation says the same thing. And they're
Yeah.
like, oh, the next generation, the next generation. So I think there is hope, but I think that there needs to be lots of caution. And I think they're going to have a lot of cool ideas that we don't. But I think there also will be lots of scary things happening that we have to do whatever we can for us moms or parents and families to protect our loved ones in whatever way we can, whether that's in thought, spiritual, physical, even. I think that we have to just prepare. And I think there is hope, but um, I think it will also be a little mixture of a little rough.
Yeah. Yeah. There's always a little resistance in there. I think you're
Yeah.
right. I think you're right. Where can people find your stuff? And they can on your yeah, plug your
Yeah.
stuff. Where can they find you?
So we're really getting majorly started. It's funny because it's a social media agency, I would say, but we are really getting going on setting up our platforms to make sure they're the best that they can be. But you can follow my social media and reach out to me personally at faith with two H's dot Calhoun with two N's. And then you can add me on all of that on X, on Facebook, on Instagram. Follow me, DM me on there. We do lots of word of mouth clients and things like that just through our network, especially political network. And lots of businesses, and we have a few influencers actually reaching out as well. So if you're interested, please contact me, and we will definitely get you started. And if not, if you have any questions, if you want to be involved in politics or um, be mentored with social media or marketing or PR, just reach out and I'm super happy to help. But so far, that is the way to contact me.
Awesome. Awesome.
Yeah.
No, that's exciting. Yeah, that's awesome. So people check her out, check out her stuff, and yeah,
Thank you,
need help
Matt.
politically.
Yeah, it's there. There's lots of opportunities, and I will say politics is definitely who you know. So if you need to know someone to connect you with someone else, networking is key to be successful in the political world. So please don't hesitate to reach out. I always love helping because I wouldn't be where I am without those who helped me.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Faith. Appreciate you coming on. Let me take up some of your time, and this has been a lot of
Thank you
fun.
for having me and listening to my yapping because I am a teacher and I'm really grateful for you being so patient with me.
No worries. It was great. I appreciate everything you said.
Thank you.
Awesome. All right. Thanks, everybody.